Hello, it's Christine here. This video will help you understand all of the requirements for your family interview assignment. So this assignment essentially allows you to take the concepts we learned about in the lesson about Bronfenbrenner and apply them to a real life family. Please be sure that you have reviewed the Bronfenbrenner lesson before you begin this assignment. This is the lesson that's posted on Blackboard about Bronfenbrenner. Please go through each thing, each page, and you will see this information here describes for you each of the different systems from this theory: the microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, macrosystem, and chronosystem. Also, there's a video and an additional article for you to read. Also, the textbook talks about Bronfenbrenner. You will need to make sure you do all of those different assignments before you start your family interview assignment. If you scroll down further in the lesson, you will see 3 different visual representations of Bronfenbrenner's theory. It's the same information in each one, it's just presented differently in a different visual image. And the reason I posted all 3 is so that you can use whichever one makes the most sense to you. So when you're looking at the assignment, you will see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 parts to this assignment. Be sure you complete all 4 parts of the assignment. So the first thing you need to do is find a family to interview. You only have to interview one of the adults in the household. That's it. And so this should be a family that does not live with you. It can't be your family. You shouldn't interview your partner or a different family that lives within your household. But it can be someone outside of your household in your family. For example, if your brother has children who attend childcare, you could interview your brother. So you want to identify a family with at least one child in a licensed home-based or center-based early childhood education program. Please plan to meet with this person in person, of course, for your interview, 45 minutes approximately, and you want to write your interview questions ahead of time. And the interview questions are going to be used to gather the information you need for part 2, part 3, and part 4. So obviously you have to go down and see what's required in those sections and then write your questions. What you don't want to do is just give the person you're interviewing a list of questions and have them fill it out. There should be some give and take, some back and forth. And so if the person answers one of your questions, you might say, oh, well, can you tell me more about XYZ? Depending on the response they give you. So that's okay to add some questions as the interview goes, but you should have a pretty good list of questions ahead of time. So part 1 of this assignment is to turn in your interview notes. If you type up the notes, that's fine, but you definitely do not have to do that. Most people will not. You can just type up your questions ahead of time and then handwrite the person's responses. I don't want you to pretty this up. I don't want you to take time writing out their responses if you don't need to do that. It's perfectly fine to just leave it handwritten. So that's how you do that part of it. Part 1 is just getting the notes, the rough notes from your interview to me. And then part 2 is you will create an ecological model based on Bronfenbrenner's theory. You're going to construct this for one child in your identified family. So, going back over to our lesson, this is an ecological model here. That's one, that's one, that's one. Obviously, yours does not have to look this pretty with graphics and everything like this. In fact, yours doesn't even have to be a drawing like this at all. If you want to just list the different systems, microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, macrosystem, and chronosystem, and then describe at least 3 elements in each of those systems, that's fine. So you can either draw it like a model or you can just do it in a list, whatever works for you. And your model should demonstrate a clear understanding of your family and the community that affect the children, or excuse me, the child. Because remember, this model is just for one particular child. And so please include a fair amount of detail here. So don't just say mom's job. For example, you would say mom's full-time job as an instructor at a community college. And you will gather this information, of course, through carefully worded interview questions. You won't say to the parent, oh, please tell me 3 elements of your child's microsystem, because they probably won't know what you mean. You have to give good questions to get the good answers. So there you might say, tell me about the people who are in your child's life daily. And then they might say, oh, well, there's mom and dad and brother, and they go to childcare. And so, the people closest to the children for the microsystem. That's how you would get to that. And then you can read some more detail. That's pretty much what I said there. So part 1, interview notes. Part 2, ecological model. Part 3 is an analysis of your model. This is a 1-page typed minimum. You may have 2 or 3 pages about this. 1 is the very minimum. And so what you want to do is look back over this model at all of these different systems that affect the child and explain how this model helps you better understand the ecological system of the child. What are you learning about this child's world based on that? So, for example, the mesosystem, again, is the relationship between elements of the microsystem. So, perhaps within the microsystem you have mom and you have child care provider, and they don't get along very well. You kind of get to the bottom of that during your interview. And then you can talk about the relationship between mom and care provider as an element in the mesosystem. And so knowing that really kind of helps you understand some of the experiences of the child, because of course that would affect the child if the mom didn't get along well with the child care provider. And then the second part, very important, so as a teacher of this child, how would you use this information to better support the child and the family and involve the community in supporting the child? Well, in that example I just gave, how well the mom and teacher get along, it lends itself directly well to this question. You could try to improve that relationship. But even as the teacher, for example, if you know the part of the child's model included a system that is providing the family financial assistance for food. Perhaps you can also assume that if food is scarce, other resources might be scarce as well, and you could make sure that you provide the parent with a list of other resources in the community, perhaps resources that help with the gas bill in winter so the heat can stay on, or resources in the community that help families if they don't have all of the furniture that they need in the household. And so you would try to think of many things that you could do as a teacher to help support the child, given what you know about their ecological model. So that's part 3. Part 4, we're kind of changing gears a little bit. This is a 2-page minimum. Again, that is a minimum. And what this section is about, it's specifically about your identified family's experience with the early child education program their child attends, or perhaps it could be multiple programs if they've attended multiple programs. And so you want to include each of these items, but you can also include additional information about their experience with early childhood education that's appropriate, that comes up during your interview, or if you have other questions you want to ask them about, you certainly can do that. And so that will be part 4. So when you're turning this in, you have 4 sections: your interview notes, your ecological model. Again, it can be a drawing where you fill in the different components of each system, or it can just be a list. Your explanation of the model, along with suggestions. Then part 4 is your description of the experiences that the child has experienced in the early childhood education program. So that is everything for the assignment. What I strongly suggest you do is also go find the family interview rubric that is posted the same place you find the instructions for this assignment, and look that over. On the rubric, you will see it tells you exactly where you can find the information for each row. So you know where I'll be looking to assign you points on each row in that rubric. Go through it and see how you would score yourself after you complete your assignment, and that will give you some ideas about where you might need to tighten up your paper. Also, as always, you can definitely use the Columbus State Writing Center to help you with this assignment. Also, if you look at any additional outside resources, and you might want to do that to get additional information about Bronfenbrenner, you must cite that as a resource on your assignment. So I hope this helps. If you have any other specific questions, please do not hesitate to ask me. And I hope you have fun with this assignment.